Welcome, I'm Russell Alexander. I've been a lawyer with the team here at Russell Alexander Collaborative Family Lawyers for over 20 years. We help families going through separation and divorce. Without further ado, let's get into today's topic. Can infidelity amount to family violence? Can husbands' extramarital affairs coupled with deception and manipulation in their aftermath be tantamount to family violence as defined by the Federal Divorce Act? Good question. An interesting decision from this recent week called Danis. The court answered a resounding yes to that question. We went on to find that the husband's infidelity was to be taken into account when allocating and determining his parenting time with the child, as were his subsequent efforts to reform himself. The parties were married in 2010 and had one child together. They commenced divorce proceedings 8 years later. In a 380-paragraph judgment, the court counted the full history of the parents' relationship. This included recurring incidences of infidelity by the father. Even shortly before the couple got married, the father had cheated on the mother with several other women. He had also been involved with another woman when the mother was only a few months pregnant with their child. The father blamed the subsequent affairs on the challenges of caring for the child's mother and increased irritability after the child was born. His infidelities continued throughout the marriage, and the mother finally asked him to leave in 2017. The father started the proceedings for this divorce, and in this context asked the court to determine the parenting arrangements and decision-making allocation that would be in the best interests of the child. The court set out extensive principles and factors that go into that decision. If you're enjoying this video and find it helpful, please give us a thumbs up or leave a comment below. In arguing for her preferred arrangement, the mother had argued that the father's history of anger management difficulties and abusive treatment, which in her view fell within the definition of family violence set out in Section 2, Sub 1 of the Divorce Act, left him incapable of attending to the child's best interests. The court addressed the evidence at length. Craig's psychologically abusive behavior and its impact on Tracy. Tracy raised a number of concerns regarding Craig's emotionally abusive conduct towards her. The other form of emotional abuse that Tracy focused on was Craig's history of repeated infidelities during the parties' relationship and his behavior towards her in connection with these extramarital affairs. Although Craig did not acknowledge all of the infidelities that Tracy accused him of, he admitted that he had been unfaithful to Tracy with many women over the years of their relationship. While infidelity in itself is not necessary or relevant to the determination of parenting issues in every case, a pattern of repeated infidelity coupled with lying, coercion, emotional manipulation, and harassment around infidelities will cross the relevance threshold if they constitute family violence within the definition of the term set out in Section 2.1 of the Divorce Act. The court found that Craig's numerous infidelities during his relationship and his conduct towards Tracy in relation to the affairs constituted family violence. Specifically, it amounted to a pattern of coercive and controlling behavior that was psychologically abusive, and his communications with Tracy after she uncovered the infidelities, often amounted to harassment. It's important to address the nature of Craig's abusive conduct and its effects on Tracy in order to fully appreciate her position with respect to parenting issues. The court found that Craig's infidelity was deceitful conduct around his affairs began early on in the parties' relationship, and it continued on a fairly consistent basis. Tracy gave a very emotional and heart-wrenching evidence about the clear pattern of events that surrounded each of Craig's affairs, the devastating effects of this repeated cycle. Time after time, her self-esteem, her confidence, her feelings towards Craig. The court found, based on her credible evidence on these issues, that this pattern of events typically unfolded as follows. Tracy would become suspicious of infidelity. Acting as a detective, she attempted to uncover evidence to discern the truth. Craig insisted that Tracy was irrational, insecure, ridiculous, and vowing that she had nothing to worry about. Tracy, feeling guilty and self-conscious about doubting and questioning Craig, tension between the parties escalated as Tracy became increasingly suspicious. Tracy eventually uncovering evidence about the affair. Craig continuing to deny infidelity and going to great lengths to lie and fabricate evidence in an effort to cover his tracks. Tracy finally confronted Craig with undeniable evidence of infidelity. Craig's making partial admissions about infidelity, but continuing to lie and downplay the nature and extent of the affair. Craig finally admitted to the whole truth after Tracy presented further evidence and placed him in a corner where he had no other option. Craig turning the tables with respect to responsibility for his conduct and trying to place blame on Tracy or on a difficult event he had experienced in his life. One issue that Craig usually raised at this phase of the cycle was that the allegation his sister had been sexually inappropriate with him when they were young. Craig then apologized profusely, pleading for forgiveness from Tracy in a desperate and emotional campaign to win her back. At this stage, he would give Tracy gifts as peace offerings. He would also typically make derogatory comments about the other women he had been involved with and insist that they meant nothing to him at all. Craig's becoming emotionally manipulative and coercive with Tracy in various ways, such as stating he would not live without her, reminding Tracy of all the good times they had, telling her how much he loved her, attempting to create fear in Tracy about the efforts that a separation would have on their child and their financial situation, and promising that he would never be unfaithful again. Tracy then feeling bad and how emotionally unstable Craig had become, and becoming worried about him to the point the focus would no longer be on how he had wronged her, but on trying to help him. And finally, Tracy giving Craig another chance and trusting that he would not engage in further affairs. Tracy testified that these effects and the repeated pattern of events had on her sense of self-worth and confidence. She compared her relationship with Craig to a constant emotional roller coaster with ups and downs at every turn. She described becoming completely exhausted, both physically and emotionally, due to the constant barrage of emotions arising from his behavior, including worry, anger, hurt, guilt, self-questioning, resentment, hope, and disappointment. She relayed the most emotionally damaging aspects of Craig's conduct were his attempts to repeatedly manipulate her into believing she was imagining things and being irrational or insecure, when in fact her suspicions and concerns were completely justified. As the court summarized, they found Craig's responses and communications with Tracy after his infidelities were revealed often so persistent, protracted, emotionally manipulative, and coercive that they rose to the level of harassment within the meaning of Section 2 of the definition of family violence under the Divorce Act. The court then went on to assess the impact this violence had perpetuated on the father's ability and willingness to care for the child's needs, and the appropriateness of making an order for the parents to cooperate. The Court balanced this with other evidence that since 2017, the father engaged in counseling services to gain insight to his emotionally abusive conduct, to avoid engaging such behavior again, to communicate effectively with the mother, and to become a better person and father. The court was satisfied that he had made significant gains in each of these areas. In the end, the court ruled it was in the child's best interest to have decision-making responsibility allocated to both parents under a hybrid type arrangement. They were also granted equal parenting time with the child. To learn more about this case, you can read the full article linked in the description below. Please leave your thoughts and comments below, and then once again, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up to let us know. You can subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notification every time we upload a new video. Thank you for watching.